This week on Christian World News, Israel and Hezbollah go head-to-head. See how it's affecting the Christians who are caught in the middle.
Plus, helping frontline rescue workers in Israel. Franklin Graham Samaritan's Purse Ministry is standing with the Jewish state, donating armored ambulances to help save lives.
And campus revival across America. Students are turning out by the thousands to hear the gospel message. Many are giving their lives to Jesus Christ. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Christian World News. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Thanks for being with us. The fighting between Hezbollah and Israel is more intense than ever. Hezbollah is well known for using Lebanese civilians as human shields. Evidence shows hidden weapons in densely populated areas, hoping Israel would hit those locations. As
CBN News has learned, the terrorist group also uses Christian farms in southern Lebanon to target the Jewish state.
3 kilometers from here, you can see my village there. You can see my olive orchards, my pine trees, and my pecan trees. They get shelled every day since the beginning of war.
Joseph, a Christian farmer here, and 12 of his workers recently came very close to losing their lives.
I saw death in my eyes.
We're concealing his identity because he lives among Hezbollah supporters. The farm sits near the South Lebanon border, close to the Israeli town of Metula. Since the Hamas October 7th attack, his village and adjacent farm have come under constant Israeli shelling. March 13th, they were on the farm when Israel struck.
2 minutes after reaching the farm, they hit us with a 120-millimeter mortar. I got hit by a shrapnel on my arm, and when the second mortar was coming, I told the guys to hit the ground and stay flat. It landed 30 meters away from us.
Here is why Israel often targets his and other nearby farms. CBN News has obtained exclusive pictures and videos showing how Hezbollah today here in the southern part of Lebanon is using farms owned by Christians in order to launch their missile attacks against Israel. Joseph took these images a few days after that strike, showing multiple Hezbollah missile systems in the middle of his olive grove.
They keep using our land as a launching pad. They assemble their missiles here, then fire them into Israel.
He's been losing money since daily border fights erupted.
We don't want our land to be a staging ground for war between these two parties. We take no part in this. What's happening in Gaza is not our war.
Joseph says he's repeatedly asked the Lebanese army to intervene, hoping to stop Hezbollah fighters from using his farm, but to no avail. South Lebanon is under Hezbollah control, and Joseph says Lebanese authorities have little sway over the terrorist group.
We have become accustomed to these strikes happening to us because we live close to the Israeli borders. Sadly, we have no say in peace or war. We Christians always pay the price.
Since war began in Gaza, Hezbollah has fired more than 3,000 rockets at Israeli civilian and military targets, forcing the evacuation of more than 150,000 civilians on both sides of the Israel-Lebanon border.
The more the war goes on, the more I lose money.
Joseph says he's not taking any chances.
After cheating death once, I don't dare to go to my farm again.
Joining us now for more is Dr. Rex Rogers, president of SAT7. His group has been broadcasting the gospel via television and online programs in the Middle East and North Africa since 1996. Rex, great to have you back on the broadcast. You know, there are reports that Hezbollah supporters are reportedly forcing their way into Christian homes after fleeing the south. Are you hearing similar stories?
We are, and that's part of the problem. Hezbollah is regarded by some Lebanese as a terrorist group, as you've heard in the report here, but other Lebanese regard it as like freedom fighters. You know, they're doing things to help secure Lebanon in ways the Lebanese army is perceived not to be able to do. And, of course, terrorist groups always try to create the most fear, state of panic, and uncertainty about when you're going to be hit is one of those kinds of things.
Is there any indication that Lebanese Christians are facing increased discrimination and persecution by Hezbollah since this all started a couple of days ago?
It's really hard to measure. I mean, Christians are a sizable minority in Lebanon and have enjoyed actually a relative degree of freedom of religion, unlike most other Middle Eastern, North African countries. And so we're grateful for that and don't want to lose that. But at the same time, there are periods of opposition and suppression or even persecution, generally not like you see in some of the other countries like Afghanistan, but it still happens.
How worrying is this time for the Christian community? Is there concern that fighting could erupt between Christians and Muslims, especially those Christians who don't support Hezbollah and don't want to give refuge for those who are fleeing from the south?
Well, that could happen, or simply the war escalate in that nation state, or even, of course, regionally, what everybody fears. But also, you have to think about this. Most Americans don't realize how small these countries are. Israel's about the size of New Jersey. Lebanon's about the size of Connecticut. Beirut is about 80 miles. The airport is about 80 miles from the Israel border. It's not that far. So it's not too hard to think about bombs being dropped. In fact, they already have been a little farther north. Even if they are hitting Hezbollah targets, then there are more civilians that can be under a great risk and duress.
How are you guys at SAT-7 ministering to the Christians of Lebanon right now?
Well, we're doing that throughout, of course, the Middle East, North Africa, and we broadcast to everyone, but the Lebanese too. First of all, for their own staff, we've given our staff a choice of staying home if they need to. Schools are closed, for example, if they need to stay home with their children and work from there, or work from the studios. And then we're broadcasting on a regular basis on SAT-7 Arabic as much as possible. We run a ticker about a call to prayer. We run encouraging Bible verses. We talk about the sovereignty of God, obviously. And in some of our live programming, we're dealing not only with the conflict, but as you just did, with people who are right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Okay, Rex, you guys are doing terrific work and have been doing it since 1996. I've traveled extensively across the Middle East, and the ministry of SAT-7 is powerful, and we pray that you continue to bring that message of hope in the midst of these difficult times for the Lebanese people. Dr. Rex Rogers of SAT-7, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir, and blessings to you.
Thank you, sir.
American evangelist Franklin Graham coming to the aid of Israel. As head of the humanitarian ministry Samaritan's Purse, he recently visited the country to dedicate 2 new ambulances. It's the first installment in an effort to restore what was lost on October 7th. CBN's Chris Mitchell reports from the community of Avshalom near the Gaza border.
Almost 1 year after the Hamas terror attacks on October 7th, Graham told CBN News the ambulances will save lives.
I saw some of the ones after October 7th that were destroyed, shot up with the blood-stained seats. And they weren't armored. These are armored, and hopefully it will save the life next time there's something like this happens. So very important that we're very close to Gaza here, just a couple of kilometers. This whole area was overrun by the terrorists, so maybe this will help save life.
On October 7th, Hamas targeted ambulances so they could not save lives. This ambulance is dedicated to Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Poland, one of the most well-known hostages, who was tragically murdered recently by Hamas in an underground tunnel nearby in the Gaza Strip. The other ambulance was dedicated to the memory of Israeli-Americans Roy Adan and Smadar Moraddan, murdered in their home in front of their children on October 7th. Graham made a surprise announcement when he said Samaritan's Purse will provide Magen David Adom with an additional 20 armored ambulances. In January, he dedicated 14 ambulances for a total of 42 ambulances to the MDA. Graham also helped lay the cornerstone for a new Magen David Adom station in Avshalom. It's designed to increase the speed paramedics and EMTs can reach emergencies along the Gaza border.
This is both a historical day and emotional day for Magen David Adom. It's historical because we are strengthening the resilience of Magen David Adom, directly strengthening the resilience of the people of Israel by dedicating a new station or groundbreaking for a new station and those bulletproof ambulances. And this is so important, especially in the events that are happening in Israel during the last year.
Sheikh Ham says the help from Samaritan's Purse comes at an important time for Israel.
And it's emotional because you see people coming from all around the world and supporting the people of Israel. Sometimes as Israelis, we feel that we are all alone in this world, that at the darkest time, all you have is your family and maybe your friends. And it's emotional because seeing Samaritan Purse coming for the third time in 11 months.
At October 7th, the Hamas terrorists shot at our ambulances, killed team members, wounded our team members. We deployed bulletproof ambulances that were stationed in Judea and Samaria down south in order to save lives. And these ambulances, a brand new bulletproof ambulance, is here to secure the life of Israelis and give resilience, hope, and give us the tool and the mean to better protect the people who live here or anywhere else in the country.
MDA International spokesman Yonatan Yagodovsky says the support of Christians for such a time as this is invaluable.
Sure that I can actually describe it in words. It's in our heart and in their heart. The care of Israel, the care for the well-being of the Israelis, giving us, Magen David Adom, the ability to reach out a helping hand to anyone in need, in any place in Israel, is phenomenal. We know that there are people who care about Israel, deeply, deeply care and love Israel, and care about the people of Israel. It's people to people, it's heart to heart.
Graham came with a message to the Israeli people.
The world in which we're living is very, very dangerous. I believe it's going to get worse, not better. But our hope is in God. The psalmist said, some put their faith in chariots and horses, but the writer said, I put my faith in the Word of God. And that's where we need to put our faith and trust it.
He says it's a critical time to stand with the Jewish people.
These are God's people. Of all the nations of the earth, God chose the Jewish people. Why? We'll ask him when we get to heaven one day, but this is his people. And I think it's so important that we stand with them and love them and care for them. And this is a small thing that we can do.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Avshalom, Israel.
Coming up, college students putting their lives in the hands of Jesus Christ. See how a series of gospel events is drawing thousands on campuses across our country.
Welcome back. A major revival event at The Ohio State University recently. Video has gone viral on social media, capturing powerful moments with members of the school's football team preaching the gospel to a crowd of hundreds of people. Look at that. Teammates also shared testimonies throughout the night, and an estimated 60 people wanted to be baptized. The weekend gathering was organized by campus ministries and churches.
Wow. More good news coming out of America's college campuses. A Christian mentorship effort that began last fall at Auburn University has become a nationwide movement.
The Unite Us events are drawing thousands of students to hear the gospel. CBN's Paul Petit takes us to a recent gathering at the University of Arkansas.
Crowds at Bud Walton Arena are usually here to cheer Razorback basketball. This night would be much different. With loud voices and raised hands, nearly 10,000 college students joined together.
When we gather all together, just that many people on a college campus, is just really encouraging to know that our God is greater than anything that we're going to face in this world.
This Unite Us is one of a series bringing the gospel message to college campuses across the country.
We started at Auburn University. We had 5,000 students show up. We had over 200 get baptized. We next went to FSU, Florida State, second biggest partying school in the nation. We had 4,500 students come, and I believe we had about 350 students get baptized at that event.
It then swept through the universities of Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and South Carolina, with numbers growing along the way. Tanya calls the mission a simple one, bringing hope to a generation.
Just getting to be with your neighbors and their friends as they pray with you through your struggles and being open about those that you normally wouldn't be open with. So just overall powerful in that.
If you've experienced lack of clarity in your purpose over the last week, hold up your flashlight.
We've had students come in and say, hey, I came in thinking I was going to take my life. I left with the most joy I've ever had. I came in not being a part of any community, and now I'm serving in my local church.
Unite Us events operate by connecting with Christian student leaders and feature speakers, testimonies, prayer, and baptism.
We're just expectant to see people really get lit on fire for what they've said they've believed for so long, or people who have never believed in Christ or Christianity or the Bible and what it says their whole life. And then we're going to see their whole lives turn around.
Gen Zers, as they are called, comprise the majority of today's college students. Barna Research says only 17% call themselves Christians, yet 50% have a positive view of Jesus. Unite Us is designed to turn that positive view into a personal commitment.
They're coming in with guilt and shame, STDs, unwanted pregnancies, abortions. I mean, they're carrying in guilt from last night even. You know, earlier today, pornography. And they come here and we're showing them the only one who can really deal with their sin, who is Jesus Christ.
Overhead, banners represent University of Arkansas College Basketball Championships. Tonight, a higher, unseen banner rises above the crowd and is changing lives.
It was awesome just having just 10,000 people that all love Jesus and are worshiping God.
I believe that America is set for the greatest revival our nation has ever seen. I believe it's starting with college students, and the hunger and the fire that we're seeing among college students and college campuses is just taking off. It's a movement.
In Fayetteville, Arkansas, Paul Petit, CBN News.
Thank you, Paul. Up next, she served in North Korea's military until she made a daring escape. Hear how God guided her steps to freedom.
Welcome back to Christian World News. In North Korea, Christianity is outlawed and believers are imprisoned, tortured, and killed.
Thousands have defected to South Korea over the last 2 decades, including a former military official. CBN's Lucille Talusan tells us the story of her harrowing escape and the miracles that saved her.
During the Great North Korea Starvation in 1998, Mrs. Son served in the military as caretaker of supplies and later as broadcaster of the Chuche, North Korea's propaganda outlet.
My father was the provincial governor and bribed the military officer with a pig so I could get in the military, because it was a way we can get food rations and not starve like the rest of the country. But things got bad when my father lost the elections. He became very sick and died. My brother was detained and died of starvation in prison.
In order to survive, Mrs. Son and her mother escaped to China.
We swam across the Tuman River for 2 days and bribed the North Korean soldiers and brokers in China. There, we found a Christian church who helped us.
After a few months, Chinese police began to trail them.
I was already a Christian but not deep. But I knew it was God who protected me and instructed me to hide and hold onto the underbars of a truck. I got away, but my mom was taken back to North Korea. I went back to rescue her, only to find out that she suffered and died in prison because she did not deny her Christian faith.
Mrs. Son returned to China, where she married a Chinese Christian. Over time, authorities arrested her 2 more times, eventually putting her in a North Korean prison under inhumane conditions, where once again Mrs. Son experienced God's help.
I had to eat insects to survive. After 400 days, I was released, malnourished, and can barely walk. This was when my husband used his Chinese citizenship to get me to South Korea.
Here, Mrs. Son joined the Sopyeong Church, where she grew in her Christian faith.
This is Sopyeong Church. Sopyeong means Seoul and Pyongyang. Many of its members are North Koreans whom they help settle in South Korea. They envision a unified North and South Korea by spreading the gospel in North Korea.
It is impossible to reunite politically because of different cultures and backgrounds. Therefore, reunification can only happen through faith. During the starvation, many North Korean defectors escaped to China. Many believed Jesus, received Christian education in other countries, and became missionaries in North Korea, where there are now about 600,000 Christians in underground churches. Many Christians in South Korea who are praying for reunification believe it will happen in 5 years.
North Korean Christians like Mrs. Son can help make this happen.
I want to thank my mom and be like her. I am also dedicating my life to serve Jesus Christ and spread the gospel and worship Him until I die.
Lucille Telusan, CBN News, Seoul.
Incredible story. Thanks, Lucille. You can get Christian World News delivered straight to your inbox. To sign up for our weekly email update, just go to cbnworldnews.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Finally, this week in Guatemala, CBN's Operation Blessing is helping provide clean drinking water.
When wells dry in the summer, families are forced to get water from dirty, snake-infested rivers. That all changed when CBN stepped in. They dug an 80-foot well to reach an underground source, then pumped the water through filters and into a very large tank. Now the clean, delicious water goes to every household, every church, and every school. And George, we know the water is delicious because they told us.
That's right, and it is clean. Operation Blessing doing great work around the world. Fantastic. If you want to support them, go to ob.org. Thanks so much for joining us this week, folks.
Until next week, from all of us here, goodbye and God bless you.